Hello guys, today I'm going to talk about toxic relationship patterns while you get ready with me. And yes, I'm talking from my own experience. I see my friends stuck in these patterns, I see my clients and a lot of people around me basically. And I think it's really important and to discuss this because you are able to get out of them if you know how to, and if you understand what's actually happening to you when you go after these really toxic relationships, right? So let's start with the beginning of all of this, which is your childhood. So the reason you go for toxic relationships in the first place, maybe you've heard this before a number of times, but I need to mention it because it's important you realize where it's coming from. It's because the family dynamics in your childhood were not that healthy. Maybe your parents were fighting all the time, or you didn't feel safe at home, or there was a lot of drama, a lot of adrenaline. And now as an adult, because as children, we're like sponges, we just absorb everything we see. And for us, in our subconscious, we form this kind of frame of how relationships are supposed to look like, right? So if you've had, an unhealthy relationship with your parents, or parents had an unhealthy relationship amongst themselves, then it's very likely you will go for someone that is quite toxic as well. There was a statistics about women that had alcoholic fathers and the percentage of women that go for alcoholic men later in their adult life, and it was quite high. So there was a correlation just to prove that we do follow these childhood patterns. So I want you to think about your past relationships or your current situationships or relationships with people and see how they mimic this childhood dynamic. It didn't necessarily have to be from your parents. Could have been another relative, could have been, from when you were in school maybe. Just see, how does it resemble my childhood? In what way? Do I feel as unsafe as I felt back then? Do I feel unloved? Do I feel like I need to prove myself to be loved? Instead of receiving it just because I'm worthy. I don't need to inherently. So it's important that you understand this, okay? After you take some time, you write it down, I invite you to. What is really important is to see, okay, what is the pattern of people that I'm attracted to? I've had a friend say recently, like, oh my God, I just find myself over and over in just the same situation. Like a guy that just doesn't really like me, and they're busy with work and they're just canceling dates all the time and they don't want a relationship with me. And I know several people that are stuck in these dynamics. Personally, I would always go for people that were kind of like unavailable emotionally as well. And the way you get out of this pattern, after you realize what your pattern is by consciously making the choice to go after another person, another type of person. So, let's say that when it comes to a toxic relationship, on a scale from 1 to 10, you will be at a 10 level of attractiveness, or you'll be attracted on a 10 level to this toxic person. Not because you love them, that's not love or, attraction. It's more like it's that adrenaline, it's those, is that intensity that you felt in your childhood and that familiarity that kind of attracts you. And, if you feel all of that anxiety when you're in a relationship, those are not love butterflies, and that's not like real love. That's just anxiety, and that's quite a red flag that the other person is not making you feel emotionally safe, which is something that you didn't feel in your childhood. So this takes a lot of resistance from your part. You need to, how you restrict yourself from eating candy, a lot of candy, or doing things that that aren't good for you. You need to do the same with relationships. And the same way you wouldn't go for a carrot maybe because you really like chocolate, you need to teach yourself to eat carrots. And even though at first, let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, the carrot is a 5, it's not really good. The chocolate is a 10. You start eating it. In time, you will get used to the carrot. In time, you'll see the health benefits of the carrot. In time, you'll fall in love with the carrot. I know this is a really funny analogy with fruits and vegetables, but it's the same with people. You consciously go for someone that makes you feel emotionally safe, that is reliable, that is consistent, that doesn't cause you that anxiety and that rush of excitement. Everything is less intense, and some people may even call it boring. But very important that you consciously make this decision to get out of this pattern. And just see, you don't have to marry this person, but make an experiment. Just see what it's like to be with someone that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel loved, that doesn't give you that rush of anxiety, Just see what you actually deserve. And, chances are you are going to fall in love with that person in time, even if you are not that attracted to them in the beginning. For people that have a toxic pattern, it's important that they make this choice consciously. Also, I would say, for instance, if you have an anxious attachment style, right? I would say it's really beneficial for you to try to go for another person that has either an anxious attachment style or, a secure attachment style. But someone with an anxious attachment style background is actually really good for you, because anxious attachment style people, they tend to go for avoidant attachment style people. That's usually how it happens. However, that kind of people is exactly the kind of people that trigger your traumas and make you feel unsafe and trigger everything inside of you. And they don't really allow you to heal, Because, okay, partner choice is one thing that we're talking about. But the second thing is you working on yourself as well. So, okay, yes, it's important to choose someone that doesn't trigger you, that is healthy, to get out of this toxic pattern. But even if you choose the healthiest person and you don't work on yourself, you'll still have a toxic relationship. You will make it toxic, just because you have that need for toxicity. So, very, very important. I would suggest everyone going through this to work with a therapist or a life coach or a counselor, whoever you want, to kind of work on themselves when it comes to these things. If not, listen to my videos. They'll do some good. So, for instance, if you have like an anxious attachment style, it's important, very, very important, that you become more self-reliant. I think I have a more comprehensive video on this topic, like anxious attachment. It's really important that you become more self-reliant, that you learn to question your unproductive beliefs. Oh, they didn't call me, that means they don't love me, or, you know, and be like, okay, so you take your belief, you write it down, and you're like, does it really have to be that? What else could it mean? He didn't call me, she didn't call me. What else could it be? Maybe they're busy. You know, instead of thinking, oh, I'm not a priority for them, maybe, you know, they're just a human being that's not in the mood to connect romantically with someone else all the freaking time. Because if you have that need, that is not necessarily healthy, that need for symbiosis, to be united with someone 24/7, you know? It's not healthy, because if this person leaves or is not there for you emotionally, which is gonna happen because no one is like gonna be there and your support system your whole life. No, not even your mother can do that for you, you know, let alone a partner. You know, if they leave, you'll just like be ruined. So it's really important that, and also, you know, a relationship basically is formed because two people bring something to the table, right? So we both bring a certain energy, you know, and this is the relationship. If I bring anger, fear, anxiety, and the other person brings happiness, you know, I don't know, like another, like less anxiety, let's say, this is gonna be your relationship, anxiety. If the other person brings happiness, you bring happiness, you bring love, the relationship is gonna be good. So it's very simple and maybe like obvious, but many people don't understand that what you feel internally is going to create the dynamic in the relationship. So if you don't feel good, you know, and you bring that in the relationship, it's not going to be a good relationship. So it's really important. It's not like the two people create something, a new dynamic. I mean, maybe in the beginning, maybe in the falling in love phase, yes. But as you go along, you start understanding what I'm talking about, that each person brings something, you know, in this bubble, relationship bubble. And this is the quality of your relationship. So very important to work on yourself and, one, question these negative beliefs that you have, and two, learn to regulate your emotions. Like, okay, it's fine, the anxiety comes up. What do you do with it? Instead of you going to your partner to solve it, try sitting with it. Try learning to tolerate it. Try learning how to self-soothe yourself, you know? Find out things that make you feel better. Like, okay, I'm feeling anxious. What could make me feel better? So maybe wrap myself up in a blanket. Maybe talk to myself like you would talk to a baby. Like, everything is gonna be okay, you know? Like, just being kind to yourself and taking it slow. I don't know, playing lullabies in the background or eating a food that you really enjoyed in your childhood. Because this feeling that you have is not the adult in you feeling this. It's actually your inner child that is having those, you know, unsatisfied childhood needs, because their needs weren't met in their childhood, their developmental needs of maybe safety, of love, going back to what we talked in the beginning about the family trauma and what you experienced and why you choose toxic relationships in the first place. And you know, it's really important that you learn to satisfy them yourself instead of going for someone else to satisfy them. Yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any other suggestions for future videos. And lots of love. Bye.